Hey everybody, Elizabeth Nader back with you, Jersey First TV and the Nader Narrative. Very honored to have with us today one of New Jersey's congressmen, Congressman Jeff Van Drew. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you for joining us. A lot of interest in you, a lot of interest in everyone who is running again, and new people running this November in the midterms. But you've been serving us here in New Jersey, Congressman, so we're going to ask you several things about what you're doing in DC, about some viewpoints that you have, and really what you're looking at in terms of the midterms for this country in November. But I want to start with the thing that makes you so unique. And of course, that is the fact that you left the Democrat Party, came to the Republican Party a few years ago. And that's something that has always been a hallmark of who you are now, as people remember that. I have a question for you regarding that. Okay. What really makes a difference now, as we stand today in 2022, between a Republican and a Democrat?
The difference is more significant, I think, than it almost ever was. Number one, I think the Democratic Party has become a very much a party of progressive thought, of perhaps some socialism mixed in, a very different party than it was. It is not the party of JFK. You know, it was Ronald Reagan who said years ago, remember, Ronald Reagan was a Democrat and became a Republican, right. And so was Donald Trump. And the one thing that he said that I thought was so telling, Reagan, was he said, and it's quoted constantly, I didn't leave the Democratic Party left me. So, you know, I was always a blue dog, more conservative Democrat when I was in the state Senate, when I was in the assembly, when I was a mayor, et cetera. But in those areas, it was, number one, a different time, so it was more acceptable. And it was a different office, so it was more acceptable. But I found myself in Congress as a Democrat disagreeing with so many of the things that were being said, so many of the things that were being done. If you look at, you know, all the way back to the, and still discussed, and now they're trying to change midstream, but the defunding and the demeaning and the diminishing of the police. If you look and see what I call trying to wokeify the actual military services and change them to a great degree, you know, our supply chain, not believing in fossil fuels at all. You know, I understand we want to make sure that we're conscious of climate change and so forth, but to just think we're immediately going to go off of fossil fuels and not allow this great resource, quite frankly, that we have, we're only 15% of the carbon footprint. Everybody else, and we are allowing everybody else, like Russia, is using fossil fuels, yet we have tremendously closed down, diminished ours, and therefore you see the problems that we have. We were number one about a year and a half ago, you know, and now we have dropped in our energy, we've dropped in our education. We were on the top 5, now we're number 23. These are all due to Democratic policies, being so concerned with what's politically correct and going after anybody that disagrees with them. And that's the final piece. So, you know, Donald Trump, they didn't like him. I understand that. He woke a lot of things up. But to actually go through this impeachment process, I read it carefully. I read what impeachment was. I read what our founding fathers said. They're just, as we're finding out now, there was no collusion. There was no impeachable offenses. You may not have liked them, but there's nothing impeachable. And I wouldn't do it. I wasn't voting for it. And so, you know, I was threatened and told all kinds of things. I remember the last one was that, I remember somebody in leadership saying, "You will obey." And they're talking to a Jersey guy. You know, you don't talk to Jersey guys like that. And so I let them know that that wasn't going to fly that way. And I remember leaving that evening, you know, after I voted no on the impeachment, and, you know, they had said all the things they were going to do to me. And I remember talking with my chief of staff, who's been with me many years. I've known her since she's 5 years old. And I said, you know, everything has a beginning and end, and maybe this is the end, you know, and I've served a long political career in the state Senate and legislature, 16 years there, and maybe this is time. But what I didn't know, that many times I was on TV, and the president saw many of those times. The next day, she got a call from the White House. He wanted to see me that day. Of course, the president immediately went over. We talked for about an hour and a half. He just turned to me, and I'll never forget this. And he said, Jeff, you should be a Republican. And I said, Mr. President, I'm going to be a Republican.
Wow.
Now, the funny part of it is, and I'll end with this. So you got to know Donald Trump, and you do. He jumps up in the air and he says, let's do it right now. And I'm thinking, I said, Mr. President, I got to tell my wife, got to tell the kids, the family, I got to take care of, how about in a couple of days? And we did. Right. And the rest is history.
Historic moment. And I can imagine that experience for you, you'll never forget that. So as you travel the halls of Congress and you have those conversations with your colleagues who are still on the D side, what do they tell you? And I'm curious, because do you sense within that party, who are not really the far left, not the squad, do you sense some pushback there that's growing, that they're uncomfortable with the party's position? I mean, the party has changed so much. So what do you hear from those friends of yours?
And that's a good point. The party has changed so much, and some of them are really concerned. They don't have, there's even, Joe Manchin on the Senate side. Right. I made as clear as I possibly can, you're welcome to come on over. And I know others have as well. It's a big deal to change parties. And it was particularly a big deal when I did it. Not only did I change parties, a number of other individuals over the years have done that, although it's relatively rare. I did it, and I went from the majority party to the minority party.
Yeah.
Nobody's done that before, believe it or not, because usually there's like, well, if you change over, we'll make you chairman of a committee, or if you change over, we'll let you do this or that, or you'll get this committee, whatever the thing is. Well, there was nothing, quite frankly, the Republicans could do for me at that point, because we're the minority party, except have a philosophy that I believed in.
Yeah.
And so a lot of folks who I think could actually be okay, who are Democrats in the Republican Party, are just nervous about doing it. And they are threatened. I mean, I know people don't like to say that, but they know that if they do it, that some really tough things are going to happen, and that they're going to go after them something fierce. And they did with me. They had a Kennedy run last time when I did this, they had Mrs. Kennedy, which was Ted Kennedy's daughter-in-law, run after me. I had about, I think it was around $3 million. She had all totaled about $15 million. She was on television from the day of the primaries right to the last day of election day. A lot of people thought I wasn't going to win because of the money and because of the name recognition. And, I trust my people so much in my district, and I'm so appreciative, because not only did we win, we won relatively easily, so that was pretty neat.
Yes.
And that's the first time, by the way, Kennedys have lost in primaries, but it's the first time in many decades, or ever, they can't even figure it out, that a Kennedy ever lost against a Republican. So it was quite an evening. It was special. So I still encourage my friends that are leaning that way.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do it. And I think they may pay the toll for that. They may pay the price, because here's the odd thing. The extreme part of the party, real extreme part of the party, the socialist part of the party, pretty much comes from districts that are unbelievably safe for them. The folks that are in districts that are purple, that could go either way, that are more moderate, are the most vulnerable people in an election.
Right. Absolutely. So let's talk about Trump a little bit, because that was a big thing for him when you made that move, obviously. Now we're looking at past the midterms, even 2024. A poll came out today showing him ahead of Biden, if the election happened today, by 6 points. And I think against Kamala, 11 points. Is Trump a problem for the Republicans, or only a positive at this point? Where do you stand on a possible Trump candidacy for 2024?
I'm friends with the president. Anything he's ever told me, he's kept his word. He's been consistent, including coming down and having the rally all the way down in Wildwood, New Jersey, in the district. It was such a big deal for South Jersey. And I've always had a positive relationship. And I mean, what I say to people is, think where we were a little over a year ago. Number one in energy. Number one in so many different areas that are so important. Crime was even going down more. Crime is way up now. We were working on our supply chain to create a real supply chain and encourage manufacturing, so we just didn't have to beg China for everything. respected. Maybe not everybody loved everything that he did around the world, but they knew not to kid around. Nothing like Afghanistan would have ever happened. Nothing, and I'm telling you, what's going on now in Ukraine wouldn't have happened because they wouldn't have dared do it when they knew Donald Trump was the president of the United States, and he wouldn't have put any troops on the ground, but he would have made sure that quickly and immediately that the Ukraine people, because he respects what they're doing over there. It's amazing what they're doing, actually. They're heroes, and he would make sure they had every single thing they need, whatever missiles, SAMs, whatever. I mean, they would have had it. Unfortunately, this president moves slow. He leads from behind. He is not focused on the greatness of America, in my opinion, or American exceptionalism. So my point is, would I be happy to go back to where we were? Hell yeah. I would be happy to go back where we were. That's strong and powerful America. I'll say this to you, and I'm sure of this. Nothing is going to happen in the Republican Party that will be successful if without Trump either running or supporting the person that does run. For those people that think we're just going to push him aside or he's not, they're wrong. Yeah. It's not doable. The depth of support for him, and you need to broaden it, but the depth of support and love for him is unbelievable. And I'm out there a lot. So, I know there are people that don't like him, but he's either going to run, which I'm fine with, or he's going to support somebody real good. Rick DeSantis, there's others too, and make sure that he's on their side, one or the other. But we have to have a good conservative candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people definitely buyer's remorse, right? And looking back not so long ago in a completely different country. Let's talk about Ukraine. Definitely, I think most people would agree we wouldn't be in this situation if Trump were still president, but we are in this situation. And Biden made some comments to troops in Poland the other day that seemed to indicate that he was going to put them in the country. Now, that may have been a gaffe on his part, but at this point, what is the solution, Congressman? Because we've got people suffering. And as much as many people don't want another war, they don't want American troops on foreign soil in a war like that. They don't want to escalate things with Russia. What do we do about the human suffering? And at this point, with the moves made by our president, where do we get out of this?
Well, he's always a day late and a dollar short. That's the problem. It's Congress that has pushed him to do some of the good things that we've done are due to Congress, honestly. And I rarely say that, believe me, with this particular Congress, but it's true. And are due even to Europe pushing and saying, we've got to do something. He's slow on the uptake on everything. He leads from behind. So what we have to discontinue doing that. No troops on the ground, no boots on the ground. We just can't do that to our people anymore. The shame is we put boots on the ground in other countries where the minute we left, they just lost everything. The one thing I have to say, and I don't want boots on the ground in Ukraine, but that would be one place where it really would have worked and really would have made a difference because they would have fought hard and learned fast and really been powerful. But we can't do that. Our country has spent too much. We have too many other issues. We also have to take care of ourselves. However, we need to make sure, I think those Polish MiGs that are over there, those Russian MiGs that are in Poland, that he should have got them there immediately. They need air cover. The real problem that they have now, of course, they're getting devastated on the ground, but they're controlling the ground. They got a lot of urban fighting going on there that the Ukraine people are doing an unbelievable job. They have 60-some-year-old men and women fighting who never shot a gun before in their life. Never seen anything like it. Reminds me in a way of the American Revolution. But in any event, so we need to help them in the air. SAMs, surface-to-air missiles. We need to help them with anything else that we can get there. The MiGs, as I said before, to cover that airspace. Let them, not us, but and they're happy to do it. They'll fly them. They know how to fly them, and they're going to control that airspace a lot. That'll make things safer and better because a lot of the problems are coming from the air. And we need to make sure that these humanitarian pathways in and out are protected. That, whatever happens there, that we give the tools to Ukraine to protect those areas, and we've got to give them humanitarian aid. We're human beings. I mean, I know we have our own issues, and I support America. It's always America first, but they need help. If we did all that, and we did it with, passion You can tell when, he tried to muster up some passion the other day and he screwed it up because he even started saying the wrong things that, made it look like we were going to take Putin out.
Right.
Like, holy cow, the guy's really finally showing strength.
Yeah.
And then embarrassingly enough, his staff had to walk it all back, just as you said with the other issues as well in Poland. Mr. President, are you sending troops over or not? I hope not. But I mean, you're saying that you are. Do you know how stupid and weak we look when we do that?
We do. We do. And, there's so many issues we could talk about that are being affected by the weakness, what China may or may not do with Taiwan. I mean, so many things, it's like a domino effect. But and we could talk about that all day, but I need to ask you about the midterms because it's so important, these issues. And, we start to change what's going on in DC by changing who we vote for, of course. So we're coming up to the midterms, super important. Your district changed in redistricting in New Jersey. First of all, did it get more red for you in New Jersey, your district?
Little bit. Yes. I mean, it's nothing that it was like, wow, I went from, I think I was around a +3 DPI or whatever. And I think RPI rather, I think now it's a +5 or 6. So I got more of Ocean County. Now I tell you, I think we're going to be in a strong position. I never take it for granted.
Right.
I'm going to work exceedingly hard. I'm constantly getting out there, meeting people, talking to them, calling them, going to do everything that we need to do. But I will tell you that when Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican candidate for governor, ran, he won my congressional district by 24 points.
Wow.
So I think that means something. I'm not sure that some of the statistics we have really show what's really going on in South Jersey. South Jersey is really getting red. If you get a chance, look at how they have that red, blue, purple breakdown. Just take a look at, I have about 40% of the state geographically, other than Camden County and some other parts down in the South. I have most of South Jersey and it's red.
It's red.
I have new state senators, new assembly people,
I know that you don't take it for granted, but we are certainly all counting on you getting reelected. I want you to share with the people how critical this election is. What are the things happening in Congress that keep you up at night? The things that concern you the most that the far left is trying to push through. It's important that people understand there are things that are bills in place to be voted on, bills that are coming that will change our country forever. So what are those few things that keep you concerned?
There's quite a few, and you hit it right on the head. It's unbelievable. When I speak to people, I say them, even when it's a mixed crowd, not just Republicans, because I'm trying to let everybody know. Normally, middle of the road Democrats, the ones that are left, and there's people in the real world that are, and Republicans and undeclareds and independents. This is the greatest challenge for the United States of America since the Civil War. I kid you not. This is unbelievable. It's huge. What do the Democrats want to do? They want to change our election systems even more. They call it integrity. What they want to do is enable people who are not registered the day of the election, even the day of the election, to come up without any ID and vote. And they just can register there instantly, no ID, no signature verification. That's going to change America forever. And that's not a good thing. Voting is a responsibility. And you know what? Anybody today has an ID. That you're not asking for a lot. You're not being discriminatory. You're not being racist. You're not being anything. You're just making sure that somebody who says they are who they are really is. Secondly, energy. They are going to this Green New Deal, which is too much, too fast, costs too much. Our energy is going to cost more than it ever did before when we should have a basket of energy. Yeah, we can do some renewables, absolutely. When it makes sense, it's a good thing. We also need to, really work with our fossil fuels, cleanest ones around. We're 15% of the carbon footprint around the world, but we let China burn coal. We let Russia have a pipeline. We won't allow us to have the Keystone Pipeline, but this president said it was okay for them to do that. Everybody else is moving forward with multiple forms of energy. We just can't instantly go to renewables, and we're going to rely on fossil fuels for a while. We've got to get the prices of them down too. The reason they're so high is because of this president and what he did. We need to make sure our military is strong. They're not always on that same page. You know, let me just say, this is another Reagan quote, and it was a good one. He said, no country is ever attacked because it's too strong. And that's true. No country is ever attacked because it's too strong. He was right. We've got to get our military on target. We have to make sure to support our police, our law enforcement, our fire, our first responders. These are heroes, and we've actually demeaned them and diminished them. That can't continue to go on. We have to be strong in what we say and what we do, and more than just words. And when we deal with the rest of the world, they have to know, and I'm not ashamed of it, America's number one. America's strong. America is exceptional. America is the best nation in the world. We always have been. Please, we can't lose it. So it's, we always say every election is so important, and they are, each and every one. This one's different. This one is historic, and we've really got to win, and we've got to make those changes.
You listed a lot there: election integrity, the military, our police, energy independence. You know, we could go on and on. There was education. There was a lot in Build Back Better that fortunately didn't go anywhere. And we don't have time to talk about all of that as well. But this is the most important election. We're grateful that you saw the light a few years ago and, you know, changed your party. But more importantly, that you vote for the things that matter. It's not so much party definition as it is what you vote for and what you stand for. And we understand if we are able to send more of you down there, that we have a better chance at saving this country. So Congressman, thank you. I know you'll be out on the trail working for people, and we'll be following that. We expect to see you back in DC. I appreciate your time. I know you have other things to do, but just hats off to you from all of us in New Jersey for representing us well.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you.